Holy Bahamut Barrett. We have a ton to cover for the last 3 months for year 2 of War of the Visions Global, and we are at the absolute end of the line for non-limited units in War of the Visions, which means everything from here on out will be a limited unit. The good news is that hopefully we will get more Final Fantasy collabs as we move forward. The bad news is for free-to-play and light spenders, we have to plan a lot better the units and vision cards that we're going for and take advantage of handout units as much as possible. Final Fantasy VI will be the collab that will be coming for the 2-year anniversary, but even better, the Pixel remaster for Final Fantasy VI is launching in February, which I am super excited about. With so much to cover here, we're just going to get after it. Be sure to smash that thumbs up and subscribe buttons below if you haven't already done so. 3 months of War of the Visions content begins now. First, we have some huge updates coming to the game that we know from JP. The first of which is that we are getting Trust Master Runes coming to the game in the next couple of months. So basically a lot of other collection games have systems like this. So you guys may be familiar with this type of system where you slot in things on either characters or equipment in order to buff certain stats or different stats. Summoner's War had runes, Raid Shadow Legends has equipment, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes had the mod system, and so on. So I figured this would come in some form of something you'd put on the characters themselves to customize stats in War of the Visions, but instead we're getting to slot runes and customize TMR gear. Really interesting choice by Jeume there. Anyway, Cabbage made an introductory video that I'm going to link in the description below, which goes over the basics of this system, and we'll dive into it a little more as it gets closer. But the takeaway right now is that you need thousands and thousands and thousands of adamantite to customize your gear, so make sure you start saving up now. This means with any spare time that you have, make sure you're farming equipment quests or book training quests as much as possible to prepare for this update. Secondly, and you already know about this by now, but your units will be able to equip 2 vision cards instead of just 1. This is a huge change. And the fallout here is that vision cards will be even more important than they were before. Your second vision card slot will provide a portion of its stats instead of the full stats, and for the sake of saving time and not getting too far into the weeds for this video, I'll just say I've been touting vision cards the last 6 months for free to play, and everything I've been saying, double it. Just double all of it, then double it again. This change will push free-to-play in PvP back a little bit. It'll set free-to-play back a little bit because whales will immediately be able to fully outfit teams with maxed out elemental cards, and most free-to-play will be trying to piece together vision card loadouts, at least for a few months. But this makes generic vision cards like Fenrir, Solidus, and Odin even more valuable for free-to-play players. So if you're looking for the best generic vision cards to farm, be sure to check out our vision card guide. Wink, wink. 4, that's right, 4 collabs coming to War of the Visions. We have the rerun of Final Fantasy IV, which should come out in the next couple of weeks. EX Cecil, Kain, and Rosa, as well as the addition of Golbez. Final Fantasy VI will be here for the 2-year anniversary. Locke will be the free handout unit with Terra and Celes as well. All 3 units very solid, which we're going to get into later in the video. Final Fantasy XIV will bring EX Thancred and Y'shtola sometime in March, probably right around the same time as Final Fantasy VI. Nothing too exciting here, but the 14 vision cards are very, very good. And finally, in JP, we saw the launch of Persona 5, The Royal. We get a Lightning handout mage with Queen, then Joker and Violet as well. We should see this come in global sometime around April, similar to how Final Fantasy X and Nier Automata were after year 1. Whew, all right. Let's start into this, and real quick on Lucio, which we all have collected by now, but remember, between Lucio, Locke, Thancred, and Cecil, over the next 3 months, we will have some great free light units coming down the line. And keep in mind, which you can see in the bottom right there, the Scions of Shadow card, which should make a reappearance with the Final Fantasy XIV collab also, so that provides 35 light attack. Pretty much anybody could run 3 of these 4 handout units plus that card and instantly have a free plug and play PvP squad. So do not underestimate these free units. They're very good, Lucio included. I heard Cabbage call Lucio Mini Dwayne, if that gives you any indication of how good he can actually be. Rafale is the Ice Selection Quest unit. Slutty Miranda here will have to stay on the street corner because I just don't see how she's more useful than Velric, Laswell, Sweetheart Solaire, or any number of the other limited Ice units. That plus the investment into MR units to fully max her out probably isn't worth your time. Sorry babe, just giving it to you straight. Jeume, on the other hand, yeah, she's one of the best units in War of the Visions. I said this before, but she can rival King Mont, Engelbert, Warrior Light as a pure rainbow tank, but in full wind comps, she's borderline broken. Great for PvE, great for PvP. The only reason she's not a must pull for wind accounts is that you might already have a strong trio between something like Tifa, 2B, and Halloween Leela. That and these Crystal Festival units will be available on later banner rotations, similar to how the global exclusive grouping is, so she will come back to some degree at a later time. Her TMR is just Bahamut tiered deliciousness for any tank. It's an accessory, it has an agility bonus, provides 20 defense and spirit for 3 turns. Yes, please. She's like whipped cream, you may not need her, but she's going to make any account significantly better. On a serious note though, I did try Cool Whip on a Cool Ranch Dorito over Christmas, and yeah, it still made it better. And just like that, Jeume will make any account better, I guarantee it. The golden Ahriman card and Esper will be right here after Jeume. Yeah, I mean, wind accounts, attack and magic resistance, great bonuses. You stack this with the spirit bonus from 2B's card and your wind units will be very strong against magic attacks. If you picked up the Holiday Gift Vision card for wind, the attack bonus won't stack, but that's hardly a reason to avoid this card. With the advent of dual vision cards, consider this pretty close to a must pull for wind accounts, especially if you have Jeume. Non-limited card though, so those focused on other elements other than wind can probably safely pass. Let's talk about Cecil real quick. He's free, he's got white hair, and his EX makes him an absolute beast of a physical tank. He has 36 base defense from his board and his passive, has physical barriers, he has some more defense buffs. Like we talked about in the open, being a free handout unit, the investment here for free to play is a no-brainer. It's roughly 10 to 15,000 Visuor and about 500 soul medals, and you can have a 120 EX physical tank to anchor your account. More experienced players, you probably already have Cecil at 99, so it'll be even easier to build him to 120, but for new players, he's pretty much a must build if your account is less than 3 or 4 months old. If you already have a strong physical tank with something like Warrior of Light, Engelbert, or King Mont, you probably won't get that much from Cecil though that you don't already get from other tanks. Kain, on the other hand, is a terror for light teams specifically. Tons and tons of damage, dispels courage, prevents healing, and dark is already a strong element. He's a great tool to add to any dark focused accounts, but being dark and requiring the Demon Wall vision card, which we will talk about in a second, you'll likely need a pretty specific set of vision cards to really make Kain shine. Is he good? No, he's great, but the cost of getting a 120 Kain plus the maxed Demon Wall comes at a dubious time for free-to-play on the heels of Final Fantasy 15 and seasonal units and the precipice of Final Fantasy 6. I'm not counting on many free-to-play to be able to drop 50,000 or more right now for Kain, and that's just the sad truth. Demon Wall, not really much to talk about here. If you're going for Kain, you'll want this card at 99 and the Esper. If you're not, the effects of this card aren't really that enticing, even with dual vision cards to justify even for dark accounts. Rosa, much of the same as Kain except for ice. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Rosa is one of the most overlooked and underrated units in all of War of the Visions. She's absurdly good as a support unit and can provide solid damage for both physical and magic teams, but ice is such a strong element for physical attackers, and Rosa is a little duplicitous and global when you have Freyevia in the wild, though it would be interesting to see what a 120 Rosa could do when paired with Freyevia, as this duo of Frosty Dames would be an awesome counter meta team. The bottom line is Rosa is a luxury, and a luxury that most free-to-play or new players won't be able to afford. Golbez is the new unit for the rerun of Final Fantasy IV, and he's mostly just dead on arrival. Kind of like Barret was from Final Fantasy VII in JP, Golbez had some fun use right out of the gate, but ultimately he just hasn't measured up. Is he cool? Sure. Useful? That's debatable. Look for them to add global buffs to Golbez ahead of his release, similar to what they did to Barret, before you go looking to pull on his banner. Rayches selection units. You know, I could potentially see her being useful as a third unit with units like Summer El Sorel, Celes, Aerith, or more, but again, selection quest units, if you have the extra resources for the MR units to clear the selection quests, then yeah, you build them. Otherwise, not really a unit that you're going to go out of your way for. Excellent companion vision card for Dark Mages, but the AoE resist and critical rate from this card are very good bonuses for dual vision cards. This means all Dark accounts should consider the 10k step up here. It's a great second card for someone like Black Witch Helena to carry. Obviously Garvel also, since he's featured front and center on the card. Non-Dark accounts can probably wait and just pull this card later. Next is Setia, and set aside the fact that her character design is just awesome. She's good. She's very, very good, and I would throw out that like Jeume, she's borderline must pull for her element, so fire accounts. She has both missile and slash damage and just a great kit overall. I just want to throw this out here. Setia, along with King Mont and Bling Bling Glaciella, was the top PvP team in the GAP Locke Coliseum tournament in Japan. She has reflex, long range, AoE, status effects, defense breaks, fire imperil. She's like a much better Winter Victora, but for the fire element, and like all of the crystal units, she's borderline broken running in her mono element, but those without fire accounts can probably just pass. Setia's matching card is the Brachio-Raidus, and yeah, obviously pick this up if you get Setia. Single target resistance is nice, but the reason this isn't a must-have for all fire is the agility bonus is only 8%, not 15%. Still a very good card for fire teams, specifically those with Setia and like an EX 120 Luartha with the 35 missile attack, but not absolutely necessary if you aren't building those specific fire missile units. Setia is followed by Lanan, who is the Lightning Crystal Warrior. With the release of Ibarra in Global, there's arguably a little bit more incentive for Lanan than before, but with the knowledge that we have Queen, which will be a free handout unit when the Persona 5 collab comes along, Lanan falls right back into being a unit that you may not even need to run in a Lightning comp. Lanan's a fairly typical just plop out damage and giant AoEs unit, and while strong, maybe the least, quote, necessary of the Crystal Warriors. While Ibarra, Queen, and Lanan could certainly be a strong team together, you could just as well run 9S or Cloud or Charlotte in his place as well. He doesn't really transform the lightning element in ways that the other Crystal Warriors do for their elements though, so ultimately I think the hype ends up being a little bit duller for Lanan. And he does get his own card, and just like the Brachio-Raidus, Europa has two nice bonuses with critical damage and agility for non-magic based teams. Lightning accounts, just pull for this thing. The bonuses are great even for units like Cloud and 9S, which can benefit from the critical damage and agility party buffs. Very versatile card for units like Ibarra, Queen, Lanan, Cloud, Charlotte. Basically the entire lightning element should be going for this. Finally, the home stretch. Final Fantasy VI, Locke, I mean, guys, he's fantastic. Maybe the best free handout unit that we've had, and that's saying something considering we've had units like Titus, Tifa, and 9S. And I gotta say, I've been addicted to Cabbage's channel lately, not only because Cabbage is the closest thing we have in War of the Visions to a Morgan Freeman, his caramely smooth voice taking you on an emotional journey full of whimsy and capriciousness in every single video. No, it's also because he's been showing off a ton of Locke, and I'm sold, especially for free to play. He's free, so the cost to max him out is nothing more than about 15,000 Vizor and a couple hundred soul medals. He chains, he evades, he fits perfectly into light comps, free to play, slashing. In Global, there's even more incentive here when you have Elena in the mix. Two rules here. One, don't pass him up. Two, don't call him a thief. Terra, man. The art team just slaying it here with Final Fantasy VI, but Terra is a Spellblade type unit, magic attacks and some tankiness, fantastic hybrid unit, an absolute game changer when paired with Dancy Fancy Glaciella. Do remember that if you go for Terra, just like Kain, you'll want to make sure to grab up the Magitech Vision card as well. If you don't have it maxed already, start working on the Encounter of Heroes card as well. That card and the Magitech card will be required to make Terra a powerhouse. Without them, she's going to be a solid unit, but probably passable. If you don't pull for Terra, I'd say that this Magitech card is a borderline pass. Spirit and Missile Resist is kind of an odd combination. The meat is the 25 Man-Eater on magic attacks, and if you don't have units like Glacialarella or Terra, yeah, you probably won't miss this card too much. Celes will wrap up this video, and just an all-around amazing unit and magic tank. Like many units, she will really shine in a water comp, and the great thing is that water has a ton of directions that you can take with both magic and physical attackers, and she's likely going to slot in seamlessly for any water account. The coolest thing about her kit is the Runic Blade ability, which will completely suck up to magic attacks as if they never happened. So this obviously makes her a great magic tank, even for rainbow compositions, and for new players, you could potentially target Celes as your go-to magic tank for your account, no matter what element that you want to mainline. Lastly, EX jobs and master ability 2 releases. And oh yeah, we should probably mention they're updating a bunch of the older units' master abilities to add elemental buffs like the newer units, and also just to balance them overall. For example, Oldoa's master ability 2, you can see there at the end of February, add some more resistances and add some bonuses for other wind units. But the most notable EX jobs here, Lucio, a bunch of JP players have been saying good things about. Ildira and Skahal, not getting floored by their EXs. And then we have Luartha 120 coming mid-February. She can pair really well with Setia if that's something that you're targeting. Thancred's 120 EX will come sometime in March with Y'shtola. Whew, wow, I feel like we went an absolute adventure with this video, but the trek is finally over. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to in the next 3 months, or your thoughts or comments on any of the units or cards that we mentioned in this video. Remember, guys, to save up that Adamantite in preparation for TMR Runes and vision cards, vision cards, vision cards. Thanks for watching, guys. We will catch you next time.